Good evening. It is December 4th, 2025. Just a few more questions and thoughts I wanted to share with you on this the bombing, the bomber, the Cybertruck bomber, and the New Orleans terror attack. So things came back to me after I had discussed this the past two videos, but talked with my son. We were talking about things, and I want to add one more thing to this ridiculous video where the New York Post journalist just happened to just go into Jabbar's home and wander around and, check out all the stuff that's in his apartment that has the 2 pages of the warrants on there just nicely on the table, and oh, look, this, look what he has here. I'm going to jump over to this.
It's very unkempt here. If we go over here, actually, you can see the Department of Justice documents here, the search warrant, and the property
Ridiculous.
that they recorded here, which seems to be a lot of chemicals. Again, just left in disarray. There's a bedroom back here, and what appears to be his collection of religious materials, his Qurans, an open Quran with a passage there, as well as even the Bible here, but mostly...
Okay. Point right there. First off, she keeps saying the place is unkempt. Okay, so the guy wasn't a neat freak. He wasn't interested in keeping things in order. But then she keeps saying that. Oh, it's unkempt, and it's all the stuff is still out. Yeah, because he thought he was going to come back home. Where did you get the idea that he thought he was going to? What, he was a suicide bomber? He thought he was just going to blow himself up? No. He died only after he decided to take supposed shots at the police, and the police killed him. Okay? But this part right here really kills me. He has this stuff that's the Quran, and, supposedly all this is, he has all this Islamic stuff. But then he has the Bible. Or he still has the Bible. Whatever you want to say. We keep hearing that he was radicalized. If he was radicalized, the Bible would be gone. It would not be there. He wouldn't. Why would he keep an infidel's book there? Right? He would have burned it, according to my son, or at least thrown it away. So that whole thing is ridiculous. And again, the whole video is stupid. In my opinion, the fact that she was even allowed in there is ridiculous. So, in any case, I just wanted to share those few thoughts that were it was just ridiculous. So, think about that. He has a Bible, but he's supposed to be radicalized. He's supposed to be part of, the Islamic State or whatever. Sure, okay. Then you have so Matthew Livelsberger. Okay, he was the Cybertruck bomber, supposedly. Well, that's what they're saying. He was in the car. So, a couple things. Here he sent an email to this guy, Shoemate or whatever his name is, that was on the Sean Ryan show, and he's talking about in this particular email about, now the first thing he says at the beginning of this is, in case I do not make it to my decision point or onto the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this blah 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 until January 1st. He says that he is not under duress or hostile influence or control. That's what he says here. If it is him, we don't know. He talks about, he's trying to verify himself through this car. He talks about drones. Those drones were actually the Chinese drones, supposedly, And he's talking about certain kind of drones, gravitic propulsion systems, powered aircraft, whatever. Okay, so you listen to all that. He talks about war crimes in Afghanistan when he was there and all this thing. Now, he's supposedly trying to reach out to these people because he wants to share this stuff. Now, mind you, he's still in the military. He's been in 19 years. And there's nothing in that particular email that gives any tone or wording of any type that it implies that he is mentally not well or is suicidal. Okay? Then we have, let's see. And then we have this weird thing. Let's see if I can bring it up here. Then all of a sudden we have this weird thing that he was in a reality TV show. What is this about? So, again, this is weird. I don't even know what to make out of that and make from that. You guys may have some ideas, but I'm like, okay, what is this about? So let's go to Daniel Davis's thoughts on this whole thing. I'm putting it on this particular point because this is an important point when I was listening this morning that really caught my attention about the Cybertruck bomber. And, the FBI is saying he's suicidal, he's doing all that. Now, all of a sudden, he's suicidal. Before, they supposedly thought that he was, it could have been a terror attack. No, it's not a terror attack. He was mentally ill, the PTSD, he was suicidal, which does not add up to his email, if he wrote that, if he even typed that email. So let's just listen to Danny for just a minute.
You see that it was a very high intensity fire, and apparently everything inside had just been completely evaporated. Not only was a lot of things blown up in the initial blast, but then the entire inside was consumed with fire. And in fact, one of the images I have seen is you see that right there. And so somehow we're led to believe that the phone survived intact so that they could get messages off of it. And in these messages on his phone, not that he sent to someone else, at least what's been reported, these were notes that he made on his phone. And that he said, this was me just trying to strike back and get rid of the demons that I have built up over the years. And, it's a wake-up call and all this kind of stuff. And you just got to think, that's really convenient. And how interesting that he shared with nobody. And even though he's reaching out, trying to go to Fox News, trying to go to the incoming Secretary of Defense, talking to an ex-girlfriend, mentions none of those things. But then on his own phone, he leaves a suicide note, as though that's going to be found somewhere. So that's just another red flag, another big red flag. But listen, I want to zero in on this issue that he shot himself in the head, because what's being claimed is that he drove up, the vehicle drove up, got in front of the hotel, that place you've seen. He pulled out a pistol that he had bought on Monday, accordingly, legally, they said, and it was called a Desert Eagle 50 caliber weapon. Now, if you don't know anything about a 50 caliber weapon, Gary's going to show this picture on the screen here. This is a slow motion view of a 50 caliber pistol. This is as far as I'm aware, this is the largest caliber pistol that's on the market that you can buy. And you see, this is what it does when it goes through several things. That the kinetic energy of that round, if this was fired at his head, that's what would have happened to his head. It would have literally been vaporized. It is an enormously large bullet with tremendous kinetic power. If this had happened prior to being detonated, then you would have seen in the videos, you would have seen a big blast. You would have seen the flash of the muzzle, And that bullet would, I assure you, would not be contained within the vehicle. No, whatever direction it went, the bullet would have passed out of the vehicle. And then you also have to ask the other obvious question. If he just shot himself, then how did he subsequently detonate the vehicle? Now, you can say, well, he had a timer. Maybe he had a timer, with a delay, he hit that and then fired. That's theoretically possible. Certainly it is. But there's no evidence that he used a timer. There's no evidence. In fact, they haven't talked at all about that. So that's one thing that we should zero in on, and we should take a look. And you've already seen some of these pictures where they laid out all the charred remains of all this stuff. You saw he also had a rifle. There were two weapons. One was the Desert Eagle 50 caliber pistol, which allegedly was in the front seat, which is what he allegedly used to shoot himself with. Then there's also a kind of an AR style weapon. And that they showed, at least I've seen one picture of that, and it's very charred, almost melted in some places. It's just really badly damaged. But his phone survived. His phone continued to be able to be so good that they could pull the chip off and open it up. And how did they get it to? Nearly everybody these days has password protected anyway. It's just hard for me to imagine that phone would have been recoverable immediately, and then these images come out of what he took on there. Now, we'll have to wait and see on that too. This is all evolving, so let me caveat this. Perhaps they'll say later on that, oh, well, no, actually he sent that text message to X, Y, and Z, and we pulled it off the internet, or we pulled it off the cloud or something like that. So I'll leave some room that that's possible, but at least what's been reported so far is very, very suspect. But now I'm going to drill into one of the parts that I think that completely obliterates this claim that he shot himself and then detonated. Now, there is one angle of this. That's it right there. Yeah. Now, you tell me a brand new weapon is going to get charred to that degree that Gary's showing there, but his phone is easily able to pull off text messages. Mm-hmm. Well, you can make your own choices there, or your own decisions there. And then his ID card is just a little bit melted. His passport, which was in there, almost completely untouched. So hard to reconcile those things, the evidence that we're being told is the case here when you see the other. But we'll leave that there. That's questionable. This part, however, is not questionable. Now, this is the explosion. If you can back that up. Okay, here's the explosion from this certain angle. This is one of the most important piece of evidences that's out there. This is from the side, and you can see this is from the driver's side. Most of these others you've seen from various different angles. Now, if you look very close, freeze that right there Gary, freeze that right at that point. Just about there, freeze. Now, if from this video here, you can see this is the driver's side. Now, if you look carefully into the window, you can see where the driver's head is. You can see his hair, his face, his shoulders, the back of the chair, all that stuff you can see. Now, I have taken some screenshots out of this, and let me show you a series of them. Gary, if you can put that first one up there. This is the first image I'm going to show you here is pulled off that video, and it's right before the explosion happens. And so if you look carefully in there, and now go to the second one there, you can see clearly that there's his head. His shoulder is right there where that arrow is pointing, and then you can see kind of perpendicular the seat back. So this shows a person normally sitting in a vehicle from the angle you would expect. Then go to the next picture. Now, this is the instant of the explosion. This is where things start to go sideways. In this picture right here, you can see that the explosion starts in the passenger seat, or in the driver's seat. So this must have initiated right underneath him. It didn't initiate in the back where allegedly there was some gas canisters and lots of fireworks, etc. It initiated right there in the front seat. So let's take a look there and now go to the next image here. Let me show you what you can see very clearly now. You can definitely see his face is illuminated very clearly. You can see his ear there right at the end of that arrow, his face, his nose, his hairline. You can see all that. You can see the steering wheel, obviously very well illuminated in that. The next clip there, Gary, if you can go to the next one. Yeah. So you can see that is clear as can be. It's like with this light going on. This is right before, as the explosion happens. Do you see any evidence that this person had already been killed, had already been dead? If he had shot himself with the weapon that they claim was in the front seat, there would be no head. I'm sorry to be graphic, but there would be no head on the body. It would have been vaporized. You would have seen exiting the vehicle the bullet. It would have come out there. It's impossible with that much power. It could have been contained within the vehicle. It would have penetrated the vehicle and gone out after it went through his head. But you see none of that here. And then the next video, I think there's one more, isn't there, Gary? Or is that the last one? That may be the last one, yeah. Because then you have this huge explosion. But that's what would have happened. But now then here we have this image, and Gary, go back to the last image that we had on there. This proves 100% clearly that this person was not dead before the explosion.
Yep, that's right. He wasn't. And then I started wondering, what source, what news person, who brought up the story of him of Leibelsberger shooting himself in the head. Who came up with that story? Where did it come from? The news people just made that up? I mean, where did they get that from? Did the FBI say that? Not that I believe anything the FBI says, but who said that? What's going on there? Because it's obvious he didn't. So if he didn't shoot himself in the usual suicidal manner, then we just skip to this saying, oh, he decided to blow himself up in the car. I don't know, but if you see him sitting there, my son says it's possible that the ignition thing, or he was, because he was looking kind of to the side, to his right, in the picture before this one, before it started to blow up in there, you could only see just black in there, and then the person's head and shoulder. My son said his head was turned to the right. Was he looking for something? Was he turning off something? Was he, maybe he turned off the engine or something, or however they do it. And perhaps that ignited that without him knowing? I don't know. Did he decide to kill himself after all by blowing himself up? Or maybe he didn't even mean to do that. Maybe that was set up and he didn't know it, and he ended up a victim. Because he didn't seem like he was the type to want to end things in this car, in my opinion. Just my thoughts. In any way, there's a lot of these things do not add up. The whole story doesn't sound right. I'm going to say one more thing on this. He's going to share, and then we'll wrap this up.
Because even if it was a regular weapon and he just killed himself, then obviously he would have been slumped forward. His head would have been on the wheel. You can't stay upright after you've shot yourself. It's physically impossible. So now then that leaves us with, what has happened now? What's going to go on? What's going to the result at this point? Because if what we're being told over and over is he shot himself, and yet here very clearly he didn't, then what are we to make of what else we're being told? Now, this is another one here, this comment also from an FBI when they're talking about the nature of the explosion itself. Watch this.
I'll tell you, it does appear that it was, I just want to be careful with my language here, but the level of sophistication is not what we would expect from an individual with this type of military experience. That most of the materials inside that Tesla were fuel to help fuel a greater explosion. But it's too early to answer any question as if there was sophisticated connectivity to those components to make it ignite in the way that it did.
So you see there that here's an explosive expert saying, it just seems a little odd that this guy who was a 19-year Special Forces veteran, who had been through multiple Afghan deployments and apparently several other operational deployments elsewhere, knew explosives inside and out, was really good at his craft would not even know how to put together an effective vehicle-borne explosive device. Why would that be? Why would he not be able to do that? And then, like, all these things in the back, this fireworks and all this other kind of stuff, they weren't even connected. But then, allegedly, what these folks are expecting you to believe is that even though it was really unsophisticated, apparently he must have had a really sophisticated triggering mechanism so that he could shoot himself and have set the timer off so that it would go off after he was dead. And then that's another thing you got to look at that. Going back to that video or that picture there, if you have set an explosive device in the front seat of your vehicle, that one right there, so that's where it is. Now, tell me, what possible reason would you have to say, hey, before this bomb goes off in my lap, I'm going to shoot myself first? There's no reason to do that. There's no need to do that. You know you're going to be evaporated when that bomb goes off. So it seems kind of odd that you would, quote, shoot yourself first and then the bomb goes off. So you see, none of this stuff matches up.
Yes, and let's go back to the fact that the phone survived, but most especially, and then all of a sudden there's suicide stuff on there, but most particularly, his military ID and his passport. His passport barely has anything. But at the same time, his weapons were toast. They were just corroded, charred items. However, pieces of paper and plastic there, they're just fine. They only had a little bit of residue. It just reminds me of the 9/11 hijacker's passport that just happens to show up at the bottom, near the World Trade Centers, or at the hole in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. They came out fine. Everything else was a mess, and you couldn't find anything, and it was charred, and it was on fire, and everything was, pulverized and all that. But then you have this. It's the same thing here. Same thing here. So, more questions than answers, more anomalies that it doesn't make any sense. Again. And then we have, Elon Musk saying, oh, beware, there's going to be like a October 7th type of attack on us. And my first thought was, oh, okay, so another false flag. They're going to plan something. But like we said, we all expected some of this. Now, this stuff we didn't expect, this craziness that's going on, but we expected things would be difficult before January 20th or on January 20th. In any case, just sharing that with you so you can ponder over things. Maybe you've been thinking the same thing. Maybe, I don't know if you saw all this. You can share your ideas under my video. And thank you for watching. Thank you for following my channel and my videos. Please, if you haven't, follow my channel, like my videos, share my channel to get my channel out there and so people are aware of it. Appreciate it. I hope you have a great evening. Until next time.